Hello and welcome back to Unapologetic Gentleman at Mario Vega 931. This is going to be a continuation from the last video I made with why boys are failing. Today is, this article is going to be about the drugging of the American boy. All right. So let's move on. And I will share some articles with you at the end of the video, okay? So, excuse me, the drugging of American boys. By the time they reach high school, nearly 20% of all American boys will be diagnosed with ADHD. Why? Millions of those boys will be prescribed a powerful stimulant to normalize them. You mean chemically castrate them? A great many of those boys will suffer serious side effects from those drugs. The shocking truth is that many of those diagnoses are wrong. Who would have thought? But you know, the pharmaceuticals need to make money. Thanks to the government that sleeps with the corporations. You know. And that most of those boys are being drugged to no good reason. Simply for being boys. See what I'm saying? It's time we recognize this as a crisis. See? This article is by Ryan D'Agostino. My hat's off to you, sir. If you have a son, you have a 1 in 7 chance that he has been diagnosed with ADHD. If you have a son who has been diagnosed, it's more than likely that he has been prescribed a stimulant. Did they tell you about it, parents? Did the school teacher just did it? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Okay? I want to know. The most famous brand name are Ritalin and Adderall. Never once include Vyvanse and Concerta to deal with the symptoms of that psychiatric condition. The Drug Enforcement Administration classifies stimulants as Schedule II drugs, defined as having a high potential for abuse. So they don't want these kids to do natural drugs, right? You know, like in school, say no to drugs, but, you know, we'll prescribe them drugs. Defined as having a high potential for abuse and with use potentially leading to severe psychological or physical dependency. And then we wonder why most men are absent or are not in the workforce or don't care. Then we wonder why. Because we drugged them as they were kids. So, according to the University of Michigan study, Adderall is the most abused named drug among high school seniors. Pharmaceutical companies don't care as long as they get paid. In addition to stimulants like Ritalin, Adderall, Vyvanse, and Concerta, Schedule II drugs include cocaine, methamphetamines, Demerol, or Oxycontin. According to the manufacturer of ADHD stimulants, they are associated with sudden death in children who have heart problems. I wonder why. That's why I don't have children. I do not allow the state or the federal government to drug children. I will not be a prisoner by this country's government. Whether those heart problems have been previously determined or not, they can bring on a bipolar condition in a child who didn't exhibit any symptoms of such a disorder before taking stimulants. My heart goes out to you, fellas and young boys. They are associated with new or worse aggressive behavior or hostility. And then we wonder why young men are shooting up schools. It all has to do with the guns, people. They're coming for your guns, all right? So all this is, obviously there's more to it, but come on, all right? They want most men, young boys, to have psychological problems so they can't own a gun. You see what I'm saying? They can cause new psychotic symptoms such as hearing voices. Holy smokes, hearing voices, all because why? They wanted to push drugs on these young boys? Oh my. And believing things that are not true. Oh, there you go. Or new manic symptoms. They commonly cause noticeable weight loss and trouble sleeping in some children. Some stimulants can cause the paranoid feeling that bugs are crawling on them. Parents, listen up. Facial tics also was reported. They can cause children's eyes to glaze over, the spirit to dampen. There we go. Oh, men are bad. Oh, men are this. No, you're drugging these boys. That's why these men are in the shape they are in. One study reported fears of being harmed by other children and thoughts of suicide. Imagine you have a 6-year-old son, a little boy whom you are responsible, a little boy you would take a bullet for, a little boy in whom you search for a glimpse of yourself, and hope every day that he will turn out just like you, only better. A little boy who would do anything to make you happy. Now, imagine a little boy, your little boy, alone in some bed in the night, eyes wide with fear, afraid to move, frightening and unfamiliar voices echoing in his head, afraid to call for you. Imagine him shivering because he hasn't eaten in days, because he isn't hungry. His head is pounding. He doesn't know why any of this is happening. How disgusting. And you people keep having kids. I mean, I say you people because this is what you're allowing the federal government to do to your children. Yes, you're working. Yes, whatever. And guess what? Single mothers are, sure, give them drugs. Good job, ladies. Now imagine that he is suffering like this because of a mistake. Not by you, not by the dad, but by the school. Anyways, now imagine if he is suffering like this because of a mistake, because of a doctor examined him for 12 minutes. Looked at the questionnaire on which you had checked some boxes, listening to your brief and a vague report that he seemed to have trouble sitting still in kindergarten. Of course they do. They're children. Of course. Made a diagnosis for a disorder the boy doesn't have, because those doctors get kickbacks. And they get to go on trips and buy their wives all this stuff. And these doctors don't have a conscience. But you've been told they're the experts. I don't trust any of those people. None of those people know what the hell they're doing. I don't trust anybody in this world. Why? Because the world's a stage. Everything's a lie in this world. Made a diagnosis for a disorder the boy doesn't have and wrote a prescription for a powerful drug he doesn't need. See, the government wants to be the biggest drug dealer, all right? If you have a son in America, there is an alarming probability that this has happened or will happen to you. The diagnosis, okay? 6.4 million children between the age of 4 and 17 have been diagnosed with ADHD. By high school, nearly 20% of all boys will have been diagnosed with ADHD, a 37% increase since 2003. I will end this article here. I will put it down below in the description, but I also want to share the role of a man in society. Okay? Therefore, and I will leave this down in the description as well. Therefore, the men in society, they say, will discuss how significant the male gender is in our world, with a focus on their responsibilities and values. And I will leave this, like I said, at the description. In most societies, men are regarded as the defenders of the community. Yes, we are. You see, the government said, you know what, we're going to break up the family. Why? Because we can make double the income taxes. We get the men away, we get the women away from the men, because the men would be like, no, we're not going to spend that money. We're not going to do this. You see, we defended women. You see, now that the government broke the family, they have control of your girls. They're doing all these things. They're having their hoe phase. They're having their back blown out by all sorts of guys that don't give a crap about them, because society and the government told them to. Feminism. See what I'm saying? So, in most societies, men are regarded as the defenders of the community. It is up to them to ensure that their homes and communities are safe for internal and external threats. See, that's our role. Men are expected to take up arms to protect the children and women in society. But guess what they're doing to your boys? Drugging them up. And no wonder they can't function in society or in school. And then we blame them, and then we belittle them, and then we shame them. Good job, women. Good job. While this might sound like an old concept, it continues to prevail in modern times. For example, the majority of individuals enrolled in the National Army are men. What are women going to do? Complain their way to death? Most likely. Come on. Men are also more likely to be involved in dispute resolution where physical force is required, because that's what we do. And that's okay. It's okay to be a man. Be men, regardless of what stupid people tell you. The role of men in security activities might be attributed to their relatively greater physical strength compared to women. Hello? In my opinion, socialization has played a major role in enhancing the security role that men play in society. Women are regarded as weak members of society in need of protection. That's what the government says, right? That's why they make all these laws. Oh, we need to protect women. Women suffer the most, blah, 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 blah. Right? Oh, but who's getting drugged at school? Without such a mentality, women would be able to play a role of defense on an equal standing with men. I highly doubt it. There is no woman that is going to take me down physically. Okay? There isn't. Men take up the leadership role in society. Yes, we do. And these corporations don't want men. They want boys who have been fed drugs, so they don't complain about the long hours, where they don't complain about following BS rules. The corporation wants workers, not smart people. Most of the top leaders of the world are men. And in most organizations, men occupy the highest positions because we work. Women have excuses like, I have a kid. I have my period. I have to go home. I have to blah, blah, blah. Never completing their full 8 to 12 hour shift because they find a way to weasel themselves out. How do I know? I've been working with women my whole life. I've heard it. Oh, well, I get to go home because I have a kid. That's your choice. You chose to, you should have swallowed, honey. Okay? However, the fact that men occupy majority of the leadership post does not mean that they are better leaders than a woman. Maybe, maybe not. Women only destroy. Look at feminism. What is it doing? Destroying. Is it bringing people together? Are these feminists saying, you know what, things are unfair for men? No, because women always want the upper hand. That's the way they are. And that's the way it's been going for the past how many years since feminism? Since the 70s. Instead of this occurrence might be because men are generally more assertive and aggressive compared to women, right? We ask for raises more times than not because we want to get paid for what we deserve. All right. So I'm going to leave it here, and I will leave this down in the description, and leave a comment. Let me know if you agree or disagree with anything that I said here, and like, share, subscribe if you wish. If you find this helpful to you, or maybe you learned something new today. Thank you. This is Mario with Unapologetic Gentleman at Mario Vega 931. Thank you very much.